And this is the part that I get emotional because I really loved your children. They were all so sweet.
Hey guys, thanks for returning to my channel. It's time to dive into Tell-All Gate, the Tell-All scandal, the Tell-All controversy, and the mystery surrounding it all. Last off-season, my Kody Brown Padron wrote something on her Patreon. She stated that the Brown family, specifically Kody, technically did have a right to remove people from the tell-all, including hosts. She mentioned tell-all hosts were normally reused because if someone of them would ask a question that made someone uncomfortable or Kody didn't like, that host could be done away with. That's why we've had so many different hosts over the years. It's why you never saw Natalie Morales anymore after she did that sit-down interview with Kody and the family after becoming Sister Wives premiered. That particular tell-all, you won't see it. TLC wiped it totally clean. It was the one where they confronted Kody head-on regarding shaming Christine over the Nacho Gate. Natalie even accused Kody of being a womanizer based on things that he himself wrote in the book. There were some tell-all hosts, definitely, who appeared more so than others. Tamron Hall was on the show for years. Honestly, I absolutely loved her a lot. She appeared very kind, extremely empathetic, naturally curious, and had a keen sense of justice. It appeared that she really cared about people and whether or not a person was being harmed. She really does believe in people being treated fairly, and I always did feel like, especially with Kody, that she kind of rode along with the idea that things maybe weren't ever quite as they seemed. That was season 9, and she also showed up in the tell-all of that season. Some major things went down during that time. First, that's when the divorce became public. Everyone found out that Meri and Kody had officially divorced. It was also the season when Kody and Robyn had that argument with her ex-husband about adopting Robyn's children from her first marriage. And just before that tell-all was going to be filmed, it broke in the news that Meri had been catfished. She'd been talking to someone who she believed was a man, but he was a woman who was posing as him. This woman started spilling everything: voicemails, recorded voice messages, emails, and even images. It was extremely embarrassing to Meri, given Meri was raised in a very sheltered lifestyle and then somehow found herself face-to-face with the internet and all that came with public fame. It makes sense how she came to be put in such an exposed position and got embroiled in those individuals. So, during that salacious tell-all, a few things came out that I'd imagine made Kody really uncomfortable and uncovered things he certainly didn't want exposed. One of the subjects that arose was Christine and Kody. That same season, they'd been to counseling together. They'd driven all the way down to Galveston, Texas, and their relationship at the time was really tense. Christine spoke openly about her jealousy issues, and honestly, it was really awkward to see. Tamron questioned Kody, essentially interrogated him, whether or not he felt like he was failing at what he was doing, since clearly people's needs in the family weren't being met. That same tell-all also addressed Meri's catfishing situation. It was made pretty clear that by then, Kody and Meri were very estranged. Tamron asked Meri what had been missing in her life that pushed her to go looking elsewhere. I think what Tamron was really trying to get at was whether Meri was happy, if maybe she was looking for a way out. Meri explained how, when everybody learned she and Kody had separated, they were praising her. So many people were applauding her, celebrating that she finally cut loose from Kody, cheering her on and her autonomy. Tamron, however, she never seemed the sort of person who would disapprove outright of the lifestyle. But I believe she figured pretty well that these women weren't all that happy. She appeared to penetrate all of that through the entire Kody farce. She did so politely, to be sure, but she also tried to keep Kody in line. She encouraged him to take responsibility. The whole premise of the show was that Kody and the family were supposed to be honest, and during that tell-all, she basically told the truth about them not having been so. They weren't lying about the jealousy problem. They weren't lying about Kody's so-called schedule, and they certainly weren't truthful about if he had emotionally abandoned Meri after the divorce. She wondered if that abandonment was the reason for the whole catfishing mess. The show concluded with Meri visibly upset and Kody visibly upset too. Not at Tamron, just overall, because the conversation was so uncomfortable. Tamron was never brought back following that. And for years, it seems that Tamron didn't know why she had been shut off by the family, but now she's really going to be appearing on the show again, today, as it happens. And in a clip I played for you previously, she explained to us that it had felt like she'd been basically ostracized. She'd invited the family in for years, been a member of Sister Wives for years, and then suddenly, it felt like she got cut off, like she was the naughty kid, because she could no longer talk to anyone in the family. Tamron just kind of disappeared from the scene. But today, on her Instagram, she actually gave a bit more information about her interview with Meri. And not just one, but two exclusives. One of them hit very close to home for her. She said, "For several years, I did the Sister Wives reunion show. Then suddenly, I no longer did the show. And now, after all those years of Tamron inviting her on Meri Brown, finally spoke and declared she's ready, not only to talk about the Sister Wives reunion, but to discuss why she actually decided to split up with Kody Brown. Did you catch that line?" She said, "Suddenly, I was no longer the host, so it wasn't something she was expecting. She got fired, period. Now they've had a new host, Suki, who's been doing the tell-alls for, 3, maybe 4 or 5 seasons now? And from what I've been informed, if she says something that ruffles Kody's feathers, she can just as easily get let go too." Tamron also reported that she'd been inviting Meri onto her show for years, and Meri always said no, until now. She's finally ready to talk. So when I said the other day that Meri seems to be on her revenge tour, this pretty much confirms it. And from what I've heard backstage, from others who've been in the same situation as Tamron, I can definitely offer some insight. I don't know Tamron personally, and I can't say for sure exactly what went on, but based on everything that we've seen, it seems pretty telling. What I do know is that other people who have worked with the family, whether they were close family friends or just individuals outside of polygamy who genuinely had concern for the women and wished to help them leave what they saw as an abusive or even oppressive situation, were often ostracized by the family. They'd get cut off, blocked, essentially labeled as unsafe. What would usually happen is someone would start paying attention to what was really going on. Maybe they'd notice that one of the women wasn't content, and they'd start innocently asking, like, did they even want to remain? Were they thinking about leaving? They could do something to offer support, information, just some help. But if Kody ever heard about that, he'd shut it down. That person would become instantly blocked, or the wife in question would not use social media at all, or they'd start ghosting people they'd had relationships with for years. If someone got too close to hearing a truth, something that went against the image or storyline being pushed on the show, they were cut out. And I'll say this, I'm sure it had to be really painful for Tamron because she wasn't trying to harm anyone. She wasn't hurting them. She genuinely cared. And honestly, that last tell-all she hosted was really just her asking Meri a lot of direct, thoughtful questions about what she was going through. This was during the catfishing fallout, after the divorce, and just around the time that Kody and Robin had recently married and adopted the children. That was, I think, when Tamron could actually sense that the family dynamic had altered, that it had changed in a way that couldn't be undone. There was no going back. She read the writing on the wall, and I actually do believe she was just offering Meri support, encouragement in a very difficult situation. But here's the thing. Anybody who gives a hand to the women, anybody who cries out against polygamy, or even hypothesizes that the women are unhappy and don't have to stay in a situation that's damaging them, those people are targeted as unsafe. In the teaser Tamron posted, she mentioned she was blocked. She would get to witness the kids growing up, celebrate their weddings, and be a part of their lives still. She enjoyed being included in it all. And then suddenly, as if she wasn't allowed to have anything to do with them any longer. And that's what these women have done to other people too. just cutting them off cold when they upset the system. It wasn't Tamron only. There are still people who've been cut off by the family simply because they had empathy, just as she did. People who truly cared about the women, wanted them to be safe, to be happy, to know they did not have to stay in a situation that was causing them to be unhappy. Those people got cut off, and most of them never made contact with anybody else in the family. Now, as regards Meri, I do know that she has taken a lot of criticism, and yes, some of the children have made some serious allegations of abuse involving her. I'm not here to defend or explain that at all, but what I can tell you is this. People who've actually met Meri in person, who've been around her, have said that she's done a huge amount of personal work. She's really grown up and transformed over the years. A great many of the things she used to believe in, she no longer believes in. Since her split with Kody, she really started living life and allowing people in she never would have been permitted to be around when she was deep down in the fundamentalist mode. Like when she was still in the cult, she wouldn't have been allowed to have a gay friend or a black friend, or even male friends at all. She wouldn't have been around people of different religions, ethnicities, or sexual orientations, but she was one of the first in the family to start breaking out of that box. When their child, Leon, first came out as gay and then transitioned, Meri was a rock for him. A ride or die to Leon. But when Kody and Robin didn't welcome Leon, that actually was the tipping point for Meri. I don't think she'll ever speak publicly of that because Leon wants them to be kept private, and Meri honors that, which I think is terrifically admirable. Meri's power to step into uncomfortable spaces has taken her to places perhaps that weren't always seen as safe. For example, she did a podcast with Rachel Yucatil, who hosts the Misunderstood podcast. I've actually talked to Rachel a few times. She's just so nice, and we had planned on doing a collab, but things got diverted with other business. In any case, Meri hosting that podcast alongside Rachel was a really big step outside of her comfort zone. Rachel's background is really different from Meri's, but there's really nothing wrong with that, by the way. When their child Leon first came out as gay and then transitioned, Meri was actually very supportive, a true ride or die for Leon. But when Kody and Robin wouldn't take Leon, that really was the breaking point for Meri. I don't know if she'll ever speak openly about that, because Leon doesn't want their privacy disrespected, and Meri does, which I think is actually admirable. Meri's bravery to enter into challenging situations has taken her to locations that were perhaps not always safe. As an example, she did a podcast with Rachel Yucatil, whose website is the Misunderstood podcast. I actually have talked to Rachel on a couple of occasions. She's sweet, and we had actually planned to do a collab, but I got distracted with other things. But Meri appearing on that podcast with Rachel was a very big step outside of her comfort zone. Rachel's background is really different from Meri's, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, by the way. What I'm doing is, being on a podcast like Rachel's is a giant step outside the box, especially for anyone in this family. But Meri did it. She's done interviews in settings that I think others in the family would never even consider doing. She's really starting to break away from some of the control Kody had over her. So, in this step, I think I explained to you like a few days ago, this is a tremendous sign that Meri's ready to transform. For starters, she's going back to Tamron, because Tamron was a part of their lives. Tamron was present when things were happening, when the family were breaking up. She was present, and then she got dumped, and now Tamron's informing her that she's going to finally get around to discussing why Meri left Kody. I believe Tamron was looking to have that conversation years ago, in 2015, but now it's more like, okay, you finally done. Now let's talk. I don't know precisely what Meri's gonna say, but what's tragic about the women is that Kody most definitely had 100% control of whom they spoke to, whom they did not. He had a strict control of whom was safe and whom wasn't, who they spoke with and who they met. It was a very close, restrictive situation. What did happen to Meri and why she got shunned for so long was that she drifted away from keeping the rules of Kody. She started living by herself, away from the family life. There was a part of Meri that stuck with being true to the show, keeping the secrets, but there was this other part of hers, the side that got pushed out, because she wasn't following the rules internally anymore. So for Meri to come back now and have this sit down, it's such a big milestone for her. If I were going to equate it to something, be like Christine getting back in touch with her Aunt Kristen. Meri did have Tamron there, looking out for her kind of, checking in on her, saying, "Are you okay? Do you want this? What do you think's been lacking?" Tamron was trying to stand up for Meri for Kody, sort of. Kristen did the same for her niece Christine. Earlier in season 6, when they went to UCLA, Kristen spoke about how the men treat women, how she had felt suicidal when her husband wed another wife. All Kristen wanted was to go pick Christine up, to show her that she could have a life outside the polygamy, to get her to attempt real love, and to make Christine understand that she wasn't battling the family. She wasn't battling the family. She was battling for their happiness. She knew that if they could get over it, they'd finally be able to see things her way. And now, Christine is coming to see just what Kristen had been explaining to her. She's discovered love and is discovering happiness. However, even now, she hasn't reconciled with Kristen. I get it. Kristen, of course, had been in court battles. She fought for victims, and she was set to testify in a case in which Kody was also involved. Kristen stood up to him because she genuinely cared about those women. She wanted them to feel that someone was fighting for them. But in doing so, she was made to look like the outsider, the bad guy, similar to how I'm positive Tamron was blocked for the same reasons. So, of Meri to be doing this at the moment is unbelievable. I'd really be thrilled to see Christine do something like this to her aunt myself, though I guess maybe it's more wishful thinking, but I feel like you do get the idea. I'm just so proud of Meri doing this. I don't know why, but I'm crying talking about this. I'm weeping because I feel like it's difficult. It's difficult to go back into the places where you were told it wasn't safe, where they painted a picture of someone as being dangerous, as someone who would hurt your family. And then to come back after all of that and sit down and speak with them, not even to fight with them, but just sit and speak and find out what was really going on. That is monumental. That is incredible. It's like facing your fear and realizing that Tamron wasn't the problem. Kody was. Kody had his wives push away women who truly cared about them, who wanted the best for them, and made those women the villains when he was the one causing them harm. That's such an evil thing to do. So I'm really glad that Tamron is speaking out about this. She totally deserves to. Her show airs today, so check your local listings. Sadly, it's not shown in my area, but tell me what you think. Don't forget to thumbs up this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.